Fasting has been getting a lot of press in the last few years, I would say, but mainly it's talked about through the eyes of men. Men who have done it, the men's experiences of it, men's benefits of it, and so on. Is it beneficial for women too? We're going to get to it in this video. And if you're new to my channel, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lex Bucco. I have background in amateur boxing, kickboxing, bodybuilding. I've been in fitness for over 20 years, and everything that I've learned, experienced on myself, and worked on with me and my clients, I share with you here. All right, let's get right into it. What is intermittent fasting and how does it work? Basically, it's time restrictive fasting. Not calorie restrictive, but time restrictive fasting. And the way it works is basically we have times when we're eating, when our body's using that food to digest and store the energy for later. And then we have time of not eating when our body is using all that stored fat for energy. Well, first glycogen, first it uses carbs for energy. And then when it depletes them, it uses body fat for energy. And if you think about how humans lived for millions of years, this is exactly why the body has adapted so well to it, because we had food and then we didn't have food for a long time. This is really the first time in history that the food has been accessible to people all the time. I know people who say, my God, I haven't been hungry for years. And breakfast simply means breaking the fast. It does not have a clock attached to it. We got conditioned for that because we have been conditioned to be workers and employees from day one, even before we go to school, right? You have to get up, you have to eat, you go to school, you're told when the lunch is, when you eat, and you've been programmed that way to actually not listen to your body to know, when am I actually hungry? And even up until recently, people used to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, hardly any snacking in between. If there was any snacks, they were generally fruits. So you would finish the dinner, let's say 6 to 7 p.m., and then you wouldn't eat anything from 7 p.m. all the way to the next morning. So you had at least 12 to 13 hours of no eating naturally. And what fasting is going to do is help you be more aware of your hunger signals of your body. It's going to help you balance your hormones. It's going to help you just get in tune with yourself. When my clients come to me and they say, well, when should I eat? When should I not eat? I'll ask them, when are you actually hungry? Because then they go, oh, but I'm generally not hungry in the morning. Is it okay to skip breakfast? So we're so used to thinking, oh my God, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I believe it was Kellogg breakfast cereal who started saying that. But really what it is your body's natural ability to tell you, hey, you kind of need to eat now. Okay, so is intermittent fasting safe for women? Yes, but it has to be done correctly. Because our hormones fluctuate week to week, if you're looking at a 28-day cycle, we have 4 weeks in between. Each week is essentially different in the hormonal levels. So we have to work with our hormones, with our body, to make the most out of it. And that's really what we're going to talk about in this video. And I want to hear from you. So leave me a comment below. Let me know if you've ever fasted, how you liked it. And if you've never fasted, let me know that too. Okay, so why should we fast? Again, this is how humans lived for millions of years. And when you're looking at longevity and health, we got to look at what the body has been adapted to. When it's storing the food for energy, it cannot be using the food for energy. There's one thing that the body cannot do at the same time. So it's either storing or using. And then basically our body uses sugars for energy. It breaks everything down to simple sugars, simple carbs. So when we're eating throughout the day, our body is having that glucose, those sugars in our blood, in our liver, in the muscle. It stores it all over the body to use it when it needs to. But if we keep feeding it more and more food, it never gets to use that for energy, and therefore it stores it. And when it stores it as body fat. And that's when you oftentimes hear about the fat burning zone. That's when the body has depleted of all the glycogen in the body from the blood, from the muscles, from the liver, and then it starts using body fat for energy, which also has to break down to simple carbs, glucose, to use for energy. And so when you're eating and then having a big window of not eating, that's when your body depletes with all the glucose and goes into the fat burning zone, which is what you oftentimes see on treadmills, and people go to the gym and they go on a treadmill like, I'm in a fat burning zone. Well, not if you just ate an hour ago. Some of the benefits of actually fasting that have been reported in men and women are things like reverse diabetes, regulated hormones, better sleep, clearer thoughts, better mental health. Because once again, this is what our bodies has been adapted to. There's also something that happens in fasting after about hour 17, 18, depending on what you read. It's called autophagy. Each cell in our body contains some toxins and some other things that we've collected over time per se. And throughout the process of autophagy, basically the cells start cleansing themselves. Think of every cell as a room that hasn't been dusted in a long time, because each time you come into the room, you're putting more and more things in there. And the cell doesn't even have time to use that. So now you're walking into the room and you're like, I need to clear this mess. I need to dust. I need to open the windows. I need to get some fresh air in there. I want you to think of autophagy that way. See, we don't gain weight because we eat. We gain weight when we spike our insulin. And it's also, the more spikes in the insulin we have over a longer period of time, like years, the more prone we are to chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and insulin spikes make us age faster. What happens when our insulin spikes? Well, we get hungrier, therefore we eat more. The energy goes up, but then the crash brings us back down. We all know that when we eat sugar, we feel so good, we get the dopamine high, and then we drop it down, we crash. Now, for someone who's constantly eating this sugar, the body has to constantly drop in insulin to regulate that glucose, and that's what makes people go into pre-diabetic mode and then eventually to diabetic mode, which again can be reversed in 99.9% of cases. Because all we have to do is reduce that sugar, go into the fasted state, get away from the sugar high, from the dopamine rush, because sugar, just like alcohol or any other addiction, if you haven't had sugar in a long time and then you have it, you get that rush. However, if you're having sugar regularly, you need more and more sugar to get that high. And companies know this, which is why they make foods in such a way that we constantly crave and want these foods. By the way, if you want more information on fasting and a step-by-step guide on how to do it with you, your particular body, your particular goals, and your particular schedule, please check out my monthly membership. It is month to month. It is affordable. You can also book one-on-one call with me where we're going to sit down and together make a fasting plan that works for you, and then check in week by week after that till you are ready to do this on your own. I'll leave all the links in the description, so check that out should you want more information. Let's get into the next question, which is, what are different types of intermittent fasting schedules? Well, you've probably heard of something called 16-8, which is 16 hours of not eating, 8-hour eating window. There's a 24. There's OMAD, 1 meal a day. There's 12-10, 12 hours of not eating, 10 hours of eating window. There is a 24-hour fast, there is a 48-hour fast, 72-hour fast, and the list goes on and on. You have alternate day fast, you have 5-2 fast, which is 2 days out of the week you're fasting, you're eating up to 500 calories, and then the rest of them you're not. So as you see, there is a list of schedules out there on how you can eat, and you're probably now thinking, this is so overwhelming, this is why I never fast. Well, this is why I want to answer that question to you, is which is the best one for women? In other words, how do you choose the best protocol for you? Here's how. It has to fit your schedule, needs to be simple, and it needs to be gentle. So if you're someone who's eating a lot of processed foods right now and you're wanting to try fasting, you don't want to just jump into 1 meal a day. Okay, you'll have to look into your schedule. What are you used to? Again, my clients will usually say, I'm just not really hungry in the morning. And when I give them that permission slip to eat whenever they're first hungry, usually that starts between 10 and 12. Now, as a woman, we already mentioned our hormones change. So we want to adapt to our cycle. So if we're looking at a 28-day cycle, before we ovulate, we can fast as hard as we want to. Estrogen does not really depend on insulin. It does not really seem to be bothered by fasting. Now, during and after ovulation, we want to start fasting less. We want to open up that eating window. We want to introduce a little bit more carbs. This is why oftentimes we crave carbs before our cycle, because progesterone needs carbs. And then the week before our period, you don't want to be fasting at all. Now, no matter what, you don't want to just jump into it. The easiest way to do it is to determine, when are you starting to eat in the morning? When do you end to eat throughout the day? And then shrink that window by 15 to 30 minutes. If you are eventually wanting to try OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, once again, you do that in the first part after your cycle. Again, test things out. Be gentle on your body. We're not looking for perfection here. We are getting to know our body, what it needs, and when is it hungry. And this could look differently on different days. For example, if you didn't sleep well, you're going to be more hungry. Never be starving, never be feeling restricted or deprived, so eat. And then when you do that, you shrink that eating window by 15 to 30 minutes, you stay there for a few days and you shrink it a bit at a time. And it has to work with your schedule. Remember, food time is bonding time for us. And especially in the United States, the last meal of the day, the dinner, is usually the biggest meal. So if you're typically not hungry in the morning and you have a light lunch and you're not starving by dinner time, you have your feast, you have your awesome meal, you enjoy it, and you are done for the day. And that will work with your schedule. But if you want to eat a bigger breakfast, but now your family eats dinner at night and you feel like you're just missing out, it's not going to work. Okay, the next thing is do's and don'ts of fasting. And before we get into that, if you're getting value out of this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and get a notification, because now I'm going to make a series of videos about fasting for women. Let's get into the do's. Do drink more water, and preferably mineral water or salted water. I'll leave the link in the description to Celtic salt that I recommend that has all the minerals that we need. Do stay in tune with your body. Your body will communicate with you what works, what doesn't work, should you continue to fast or not. Do keep yourself busy if you're new to fasting. If you're wanting to fast but you're hanging around your kitchen all day with these awesome snacks that you have, it's going to be really hard to not eat. So feel free to keep yourself occupied. Okay, so don'ts of the fasting. Don't ever allow yourself to be starving or feel deprived, especially in the beginning. This can bounce back and make you binge even more. Do not start your meal with sugars and simple carbs or things made with flour if it can be avoided. And if you can't, add the healthy oils. And don't drink coffee on an empty stomach on its own, because it will spike your insulin. I'm sorry. If you don't like ghee, butter, or coconut oil in your coffee, find a creamer that has lowest amount of carbs and the highest amount of fats, or start adding a tiny bit of coconut oil or ghee or butter in your coffee until your taste buds change, because they will over time, while lowering your sugar. Okay, there's so much to talk about when it comes to fasting. I simply cannot put it all in one video. So please make sure to comment below. Let me know what questions you have. Make sure to hit that subscribe and notification button, because I'm making a series on how to fast as a woman. Share with your girlfriends, because women need to know how different it is to fast than men. And then check out the next video here.